Well, I hope everyone who's tuning in right now got to see the George Perez tribute virtual thank you card that we got to put together. That was honestly, this was probably I don't even know how many times I've had to see this tuning in the last 4 days. We got the video clips in over the course of December, and everybody knows it was a really rough period for me, and I lost my brother because of both pancreatic and liver issues. So when George had the announcement about everything, it really did, it hit home. And George is such a fantastic guy, and you don't usually get to have an opportunity like we did with this to say thank you to him, and in a way like this. And so I just appreciate the fact that so many of you took the time to film videos for this presentation, and I got practically just as many emails from members of the community who were thanking me but didn't want to participate in the video side of things, but asked me what was the best way to get in touch with George and those sorts of things. So it was a really great project for me to work on, and I'm really grateful that there were so many of you that were willing to support it. And no, thank you, everybody. I mean, Michael, Rich, Nick Rucci, all of you for putting the time in to record those videos and send them in. It really meant a lot. And so it was good. I really hope that we have opportunities like that in the future. And I think we need to celebrate our heroes more often than we do. And, you think about it, over the last couple of years when we've been hampered by COVID and we haven't been able to see our creators, the news of this from somebody so prolific and so profound as George Pérez, really hits home when you realize you're not going to get a chance to see him. So I'm just so grateful that we were able to put this together and take the thank you messages that everybody had. And, again, I'm just so pleased with the turnout, and I hope, George enjoys it too. I emailed a bit with them through Facebook, and I don't know if he was watching live, but I do hope that he gets to see it soon. And, I thought about asking him for a clip, and then I felt like, there'll be enough people interviewing George and asking him for quotes and things. And I felt that the messages from his fans was really all this presentation needed. So again, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jeff, West, Ronald. I appreciate everybody's encouragement throughout the time we took to get this thing together. I wish I could have gotten it done closer to the holidays, but lots of things got in the way. But I'm glad we finally got it out there, and I'm super pleased with how it turned out. So hats off to Ashton. He put a lot of work into it while I was still sick. I kind of gave him some guidelines on the order on how I wanted the thank yous to progress, but I hadn't seen any of them. I just had gotten them all, downloaded them, and put them in a place for him to work on them. So he put them all together. I didn't really have to shuffle things around too much after I got to see his first cut about 4 days ago, and we worked on just the finishing touches on it. So again, thanks to my son Ashton, and to all of you for your patience while we put that whole thing together. So there you have it. It was a lot of fun, and I even given the circumstances, I think that everybody did a fantastic job, and I hope George is pleased. So I wasn't going to go live. I mean, it's kind of odd. It was something that I wanted to be able to go live before it maybe and talk about what we had done. I think this is just as good to be able to talk about it afterwards. So I'm grateful that everybody has tuned in. Hey, Kat, nice to see you. And Christopher, thank you as well. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the best of as well, but again, I'm getting a lot of side messages here. But thanks, everybody. It really means a lot. That I'm glad that everybody was pleased with how that turned out. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the best of, because I did get some emails and whatnot today. I know we transitioned from the submission period to the voting side of things, and let's see. Rich. So exactly. No, I know. That's exactly how why I felt I wanted to do it. I wanted to take that opportunity to get it done and get it done quick and get it out there for George. So yeah. So it's so I'm kind of at a loss for words. Every time I see it, I got choked up every time I had to watch it and go through it. Tweak audio volumes and those sorts of things. So it was hey Tim, no worries, not at all. James, thank you. But I know that a lot of people weren't there at the beginning. I saw the viewers were kind of peaked after the first few minutes. So I hope everybody goes back and watches it from the start, because there's a lot of good stuff throughout that whole thing. And Nick, I'm sorry you got the 950 was the start of the follow-up, not the actual tribute presentation. So I hope you take time and watch the whole thing too. You'll enjoy it. So yeah, let me kind of get back to what I was going to talk about, which was the best of stuff. And I just had a few points I wanted to make there and not take up too much of everyone's time. But like I said, I had gotten a few emails from people today who had some questions about the voting process, and I just wanted to make sure that it was as clear as the submission process was, and because it is a little bit more complicated in its own little weird way, I guess. But there's a couple different ways you can get to cast your votes in the best of, and you do have until the end of the month, because we extend it through the end of the month so that you have, then obviously February 1st, where you do the presentations, which coincides with the anniversary of CAF going live. 19 years old this February 1st will be CAF. So it's always a great kind of moment for me, and I think it's a great moment for the hobby when we're celebrating the best collected works of the previous year. So voting is a very important part of that now. And now that the contributions are done, I just wanted to make sure everybody's really clear on how to vote and how to get to it, I guess. So 2 paths to getting to vote, of course, would be first underneath the account menu, where you can just click vote for your best of 2021. Or if you go to the best of 2021 preview, now there is also a link here. So when you're logged in to CAF, you can cast your votes on the best of 2021. And there are several pieces by George in this as well. So I know that those pieces will get a lot of votes. So we default the link when you click on it in either place to hop over to the covers category, because it's the first one on the list. And I put the instructions up here every time just because I just don't want anybody to make a mistake. But it's a 2-step process in casting votes, which I think makes your life a bit easier, especially when in the covers category. I guess I should be saying how many pieces are in it, right? 322 pieces. So you got a lot of art to look through, and I always encourage people to just open these in new windows to stay on this page. But what you can do is you can go through here and just pick everything that you think is an artwork that you want to cast your vote on first. So this first part of the process is really just making sure that you're giving yourself the opportunity to say, yeah, these are pieces I want to look at, and then before I cast my votes. So of course I could scroll a lot longer. There's a lot more to scroll through, but if you go through and click update your favorites, it then every piece that you had selected is now highlighted at the top in yellow, and you can add and remove them as you see fit. Maybe you want to go back, because again, you get 2 weeks to do this, so you have plenty of time to come back here and look at all the artwork before you cast your final votes. But the way you would cast your final votes would be to, well, like I say, if you want to remove a piece from this favorite list, you kind of check off on a few things and then update it. If you're like down to your last 5, and again, you can only cast 5 votes per category, you would then come in here and say, pick your top 5, and I'm not going to cast them, but you can pick your top 5 artworks that way. Click the cast my vote for this category, and it will save those for you and cast your votes. You won't be able to go back and edit them. You can't hit the back button and try to redo it, unfortunately. But so just keep that in mind. Updating your favorites is how you kind of filter the list down to your final pieces that you want to cast your votes on. Cast your vote is how you complete that process for each category. So you can leave this category and go over to because I haven't saved my votes yet. I've just saved some favorites. You can go over to the splashes category, do the same thing, and you can always come back here to your covers one when you're ready to cast your votes. So so maybe you're just not ready to cast those votes. You can move around and just be picking favorites to kind of just fine tune and finesse your lists. 2 things that we added just today as part of this is initially the yellow box here tells you which categories you've not voted in. So because at the end of the day, I want you to vote in all categories, at least if you have the time. And you want to, but we want to make it easy so you know which categories you've not voted in. We've also added the second box today that allows you to see which categories you have voted in. And here you can see it's I voted in the published, unpublished, other earlier. So Dino, you got a vote. Colin, Amir, Jason, Sydney, those are votes I casted earlier today. And as you can see, once I've cast my votes, you cannot do anything as far as, picking and choosing any other votes. We kind of left the update favorites in there. And so that's still a feature that's in there, but at that point, it doesn't matter. Your votes cannot change once you've cast your votes in that way. And they're green, they'll show up that way. Now, one thing that we did add, I'm not sure if Maureen's got it done perfectly yet, and it doesn't look like it. What I wanted to do, as you know, we also made a way for you to share your 5 entries very easily to give you your own page. And I know it's very common for people who cast votes in the best of to talk about the pieces that they voted on. I mean, it's something that's been shared on the Comic Art L quite often, but because there's been no easy way to do that, it's not something that I think has become widespread where people like to share what they voted on. And I think that I think a lot of people will want to do that if they had an easy way to do it. So what we've added, but it's not quite done yet because she's not passing in something. But if you click this "See All My Votes" link, this will actually be a page custom to you that you could share if you wanted to say, hey, these were my picks from the best of. And at the end of the day, I hope people do choose to share it because it will allow you, allow more people to come into comic art fans and experience the hobby in the way that we experience it. Maybe share this on your Facebook page and you maybe give some reasoning why you picked certain things or whatnot. Or it's a way to encourage people to come back to CAF and see a lot of great artwork. So we've got to tweak the page a little bit. I'm sure the link will be fixed and in the proper manner tomorrow. But if you've already cast a few votes, this also gives you a way to kind of recap the votes that you cast for this year. So again, I think it's something I hope many of you choose to do. And again, I'm seeing a lot of great comments as well about the presentation tonight. And thank you, everybody. It is. I enjoyed it every time I watched it. It was so great to see people from different countries just express their love for George and in all their different ways. Right, the guy from Australia telling a joke. The other woman from Australia who said George gives better hugs than her husband. So, George has touched so many people in so many different ways. So I'm going to keep coming back to George tonight. But at the end of the day, it's, George is a great guy. But Murdoch, I'm sorry, you just voted for one piece. Well, it's you get 5 votes just per category, and unfortunately you can't reset those. But it is 5 votes that you can cast per category that you choose to vote on. So I do hope that those of you who've not cast your votes know that. And in those votes, you're not casting a vote saying this is my number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're saying these are the 5 pieces from this category that I want to vote on. And we, at the end of the day, for those of you who've never seen it, we do actually show at the once we tally the votes, the number of votes that each piece has gotten, and it's ordered by the vote count. And as many people know, and I should have prepped an image for this. I'll show it on Thursday during the CAF update. My uncle's actually been creating those Thor hammer trophies. So those will be presented to each of the category winners, and we will also have 5 special awards to give out during the best of presentation that will happen on February 1st. So, but I do have a photograph of like 5 of them in a row because they've been 3D printing them for me. So that's going to be, it'll be fun to get those out to everybody. We're going to customize each one just a little bit before we do it. And I'm sure we'll dream up some kind of different trophy going forward. This one was really fun and was Mikhail's idea. So I'm really happy to have done it. But I think we'll probably just, maybe every year we'll change it. I don't know. But at the end of the day, it's going to be nice to be able to hand those trophies out to everybody. And thank you, Tom McDonald, too. You had a really nice presentation, and I appreciate that. And do the losers get a Billigan card? Yeah, that's probably, that wouldn't be a bad idea, right? I do think we've had the most submissions that we ever got. Got to go back and look and see what we had last year, but I do believe where was the count at this year? 1,678 entries. I had emailed with Brian earlier today, Brian Pack, and he had mentioned that he thought that last year's submissions were around 1,000. And before we updated the process, we always used to get around 400 to 600. I'll have to go back and check and see how many submissions we had last year, but I'm sure we're at least very comparable to years past. That'd be a lot of Billigan cards to give away to people who didn't win. But I know we had a lot of first-time people who submitted this year. Ann Saxby, who's a regular on Dueling Dealers Buying Art, chose to put some pieces in. And I'm so pleased when we get more people participating in the best of, because while it originated as a Comic Art L Lowry Gallery function, it's really become a part of CAF and the lexicon of CAF, and it's always been an honor to host it. So I like to see more and more participation every year. So and this year we had a great number. So I'm really looking forward to how the votes work out. So let's see. Yes, vote very carefully. You have to vote very, very carefully. But again, I think that the new process, the process we have in place, allows you to take your time. You've got 2 weeks, and so just take the time to look at all the art. That's the main thing. As you can see here, I put in a few here as well, or probably Maureen did. I don't remember doing it in strip art before, but that's how we test everything with my account. Hopefully you can't hear my cat on the other side of the door. She's really upset that I'm locked in here. We got about 2 foot of snow in Chardon, Ohio, and I've only got the driveway halfway shoveled after going out there 4 times today because I'm the only one here. So hopefully we don't need any emergencies. But if somebody needs to bring a gurney down my driveway, they can do that now. So at least I'm prepared for that. If anybody has any questions about the best of voting, they can always hit me up with an email. But yeah, 2 weeks is a lot of time to vote. We only gave you 10 days, I believe, to submit your entries. We should probably kind of flip-flop that, give you 2 weeks to submit your entries and promote the fact that we want more participation, and 10 days to vote. Brian and I'll have to work that out. I'm not sure how it kind of got. I think what happened was Brian always had a 10-day window that he wanted to do submissions. And last year when we did our best of live presentation, I couldn't do it before February 1st because that was CAF's anniversary. And we ended up just having this long extended voting period. So next year I'll make sure that Brian and I kind of plan ahead and at least make it even, or at least 14 days of posting and 10 days of voting. But again, I know that people do need the time to vote. So yeah, Henry, 2 feet of snow. It was absolutely miserable. It's probably the worst snowstorm I've seen here in Chardon in 15 years, and it's the last winter I'm going to be here. So, and I'm here by myself. That had to be the icing on the cake. But what are you going to do? Do we get to see how many votes each piece got when the voting ends? Absolutely, Tim. What you'll see when the voting is done is we tally all the votes. And when you go to the individual categories, it will be ordered. You'll be able to order it in a couple different ways, but it will default order to the number of votes. So you'll be able to see that this artwork got 35, this one got 34, this one got 30, and on and on and on going down. So you will be able to see how many votes each piece received. And that's always, at the end of the day, hey, just acknowledgement from a few fellow collectors is always good, but it's always nice. The thing is, you just never know. It's always about the voters' tastes. I mean, we've talked about that a lot. It all depends on who's there. When I run that Infected by Art book competition, it's a juried process too. And there's always comments after the fact that the jury kind of sways what artwork finally makes it into the book that we publish every year. So similar thing happens here. It's those people who choose to vote that are really going to drive what pieces are probably most popular and get the most votes at the end of the day. So, I encourage, hopefully we get a even swath of Marvel and DC fans and independent fans, and we go. That's Ohio saying goodbye to me, Scott. Yeah, that's absolutely true. That's what I said something very similar to Maureen today. Well, she was laughing at me down in Florida, because I told her I go out there, I shovel for a half hour and I'm making no progress. So thankfully I have nowhere to go, and I knew the storm was coming, so I did all my grocery shopping the day before. So like Nick says, everybody get out and vote, and I will send reminders of we've got 2 weeks. I'll probably email out at least 4 reminders during this the voting process to make sure everybody has the opportunity to participate. And voting requirements is The only thing you need to have is a CAF login. You have to be logged in. You won't see the link to vote from the the preview page. That link won't show up if you're not logged in. And of course, if you're not logged in, you won't. Here, let me swap that around. If you're not logged in, you're not going to end up getting the link in your. Well, you won't even have a your account and collection menu, so you won't see it here. And if you're not logged into CAF, you also won't see the opportunity to vote from there. So being logged in is very important if you want to cast a vote. So let's see. I really don't have the money for it, but I'm a longtime fan of comic art. Hey, I appreciate it, Henry. And at the end of the day, I get it from a lot of people, that have smaller collections that they don't want to show it on CAF because they feel like I'd be intimidated because there's so many great collections on there. And nobody should ever feel like they shouldn't share, even if you've only got 4 or 5 pieces of art in your collection. So, at the end of the day, I'm just glad you appreciate comic art and you enjoy it and you enjoy our shows. So thank you. That means a lot. And so, yep, hit the thumbs up. Marcus Way, I got my billion card and poker chips. All right. And let's see. Anson said, thanks for putting the update favorites at the bottom of the page as well. Trust me, we forget to do that a lot. But when some of those categories are so filled, like interior pages, I don't recall what was the count on interior pages? 352. So I think we always get the most there. And then second is always comic book covers. But yeah, we had to put that save button at the bottom. I guess if I was smart, that button would just kind of float with you. Something to maybe consider in the future. And as I've talked about as well, I do feel that when, I haven't done it here, but I think that it would behoove me to do something a lot like the Heritage site has, so that when you're here, or most certainly when you're in the voting pages here, that you could, when you hover over an artwork, we show a bigger preview. That way you don't have to click over to things. Yeah, I mean, I guess I can lament that. Maybe in some weird way I can work that out. I'll have to think about it, but maybe, again, I was emailing with messaging with somebody earlier, telling them that we always try to work things out on the fly when we see things that could be made better. And certainly that would make the voting process a bit easier versus looking at thumbnails, because it does require you to have actually seen the larger image to make that final decision. So, all right, I'll ponder that and see if I can't put something in there tomorrow. I have an idea on how we might want to handle that. So yeah, I think I can do it. But all right, all collectors, all collections are great collections. That's absolutely right, Kat. Words to live by. So if anybody doesn't have any other questions with this, I'm just going to call it a night. I really just wanted to pop in and just thank everybody personally for their contributing to the video for George, and also just tuning in tonight for it. We had I think we had about 75 people watching in total, and I appreciate that. I hope we get hundreds of views after the fact. And again, I just it's an honor to have been able to participate in this, and I in a weird way I hope we never get to do it again, but I'll be here the next time we need to do something like this. And I think that these types of things are important, and George is an important guy, and he deserves all the praise and the love that we can send him. And so again, just every time I think about it. So thank you, everybody. Hit me up with emails if you have any questions about the best of, and probably when I send out my next reminder, I'll make a note of any of the improvements I've made in the voting process, especially if I can get that hover kind of concept working for everybody. And Chuck, thank you as well. I mean, for turning in a video. I really appreciate that. So again, thanks everybody. Tomorrow night we have the big Heritage recap. And of course, it was a big auction, so we've got a lot to talk about there. Nick Barucci will be with me, as well as Albert and Mike Berkey. So that should be a lot to cover. I do believe they crossed the $11 million mark, which shatters, I think, their last sales record, which was around $8 million in the original comic art category. So I think they had beaten, even without the Zach sale, they still actually would have had a record sales event with this one. So a lot of things to talk about. And then of course we'll have Dueling Dealers on Wednesday, and then Thursday we'll have the 78 CAF update. So busy week here. And again, just thank you everybody for tuning in. Hit me up if you need anything. And share that George Perez video as often as you can, wherever you can, so we get more people to watch it. All right. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.